This raucous silver gull colony in the Tasman Sea off the coast of Wollongong sits on a protected island reserve. A short flight across the water to the mainland, the silver gulls act as cleaners, picking our beaches clean each day.
What a glorious existence the seagulls must have. Their scavenging habits make them most useful in keeping our harbour beaches clean. How dandy they look, with their silver backs, white breasts, and neat red legs.
That was an excerpt from a Sydney Morning Herald article written in 1935. The public's perception of silver gulls has shifted a lot in 85 years, and not to the good. Today, seagulls, which are a protected species under the Biodiversity Conservation Act, are often vilified as scavenging pests on par with the much maligned ibis bin chickens. Seagull expert Chris Lloyd, who has spent years observing silver gull colonies, volunteers at the University of Wollongong and helps students study seagull behaviour. He thinks it's humans, not gulls, that are the problem.
They're omnivorous animals, that is, they eat just about anything that they can come across. Going to the surface of the water and dipping their heads in all the time will be picking out very small fish, tiny schools of fish, cephalopods. They'll go around the rocks and start picking bits and pieces off shellfish. Quite a lot of seaweeds and things like that in their diets. They'll eat stuff off the shorelines. Go along the sand looking for worms as you see them in great big waves, what they're doing for insect larvae, all that sort of stuff. So, omnivorous, basically protein, heavily protein orientated, so not a lot.
Our human behaviour changed that. Thanks to us, you can add chips to that diet.
Remember, they're salt tolerant. Unlike us, they're salt tolerant. All birds, except for the passerines, can get the salt. The salt comes out down their nasal passages and out of their eyes because they have salt glands behind their eyes to filter their blood to take the salt out of the bloodstream. So you can drink salt water. So we can't do that, of course. So you guzzle salt water. Chips have got a lot of salt on them, so that's being attracted apart from anything else because their normal food sources, their instinctive food sources, will be salty and the fat. All sea and shorebirds tend to have a bit of bias inside of the herbivores to fat because they can store it easily back of the neck and different parts of the body. So fat, chips cooked in oil, palm oil, who cares, you know? The carbohydrates is probably the least useful thing to them, the actual potato itself.
The seagull's appetite for chips is an inconvenience to beachgoers, but our food waste, piled high at rubbish tips, presents a clear and present danger to the gulls. In Wollongong, the council has partly covered its food waste mountains, dramatically reducing the number of scavenging gulls to 500 per day. Bethany Hoy, a lecturer and researcher at the University of Wollongong, explains why the initiative matters.
I have, for the last 11 or 12 years, worked on infectious diseases in wild animals, mainly birds, but I also have a project now on bats, and I'm mostly interested in the sorts of things that mean that transmission is more likely to happen, because getting rid of those factors would mean that you reduce transmission. particularly between humans and wildlife.
Bethany has been monitoring pathogens found in seabirds, counting the chick population each year. She's investigating whether there was a human-to-bird transmission via birds scavenging at rubbish tips or sewage treatment works.
Yeah, in 2017 we started by just screening for salmonella. That was a pathogen that's known to occur in wild birds, but then in some birds cause a disease called salmonellosis. So it could have an impact on the fitness, the overall success of a chick. At the moment, our working hypothesis is that the adult gulls are feeding their chicks infected food because the adults don't have the infections themselves, but the chicks who have no contact with anything other than their parents, because they're sitting out on an offshore island, do develop these infections, so they have to get them from somewhere. Salmonella E. coli, there's some other bacteria called Enterobacter is a genus, Serratia, Proteus. Infected food items like chicken and other meats that go off, or whether that's coming from sewage treatment works, which of course drains everybody's infection pathogen. So there's some of that we don't really understand, but we do see a broad range of human gastrointestinal and urinary tract type pathogens.
Obviously, Aboriginal management meant they understood. These cleaners worked and let them go and get on with their job, or didn't go near the part of the landscape they use. So they clean up the mess. And it's unfortunate we don't see it that way. We see them the other way. Maybe it's because we're so messy. Because we are. We're a filthy bunch. One person's rubbish is another person's goal. And that is the case. They're cleaners. We don't think cleaners are bad things, do we?
I think if they're considered pests, it's because people made them that way.